keeps Americans safe.
The president says next month he would slap 10% tariffs on Denmark, Norway, Sweden, France, Germany, Britain, the Netherlands, and Finland. And if there is no deal to buy Greenland by June, he would raise the tariffs to 25%. The U.S. launches another strike on ISIS targets in Syria as continued retaliation for an ISIS gunman killing 2 U.S. soldiers and an American interpreter last month.
U.S. Central Command, which is the group that oversees military operations in that region, in the Middle East, as well as parts of Asia, they say that a strike resulted in the death of a leader affiliated with al-Qaeda who had direct ties to an ISIS terrorist responsible for that ambush attack on those 2 service members, as well as an American civilian interpreter. So far, they say there have been 100 targets that have been hit all over Syria related to ISIS targets.
Fox's Madeline Rivera reporting. A U.S. judge bars federal officials and officers from using tear gas and other chemical irritants against peaceful protesters in the Minneapolis area. U.S. District Judge Kate Menendez ruled the case and that had been filed by activists in the Minnesota area. Government attorneys argued the officers are just using their legal authority. America's listening to Fox News.
History isn't just in textbooks. It's the story of us. The United States. 2026 marks 250 years of America. And throughout the year, Bill Hemmer takes listeners on a journey through the 250 most impactful moments in American history. From the spark of revolution to the battles for freedom. The ideas, inventions, and decisions that changed the world. The 250 most impactful moments in American history podcast. Listen and follow now at foxnewspodcasts.com.
You never know who might be taking the quiz.
Hi, everyone. It's Candace Cameron Bure.
Hey, everyone. It's Phil Sims.
It's Dolores Catania.
Hey, everyone. I'm Kix Brooks.
It's Candace Bushnell.
I'm Rob Paulson.
I'm Ryan Serhant.
Hey, everyone. I'm Nicole Polizzi.
Hey, everybody's Kevin Nealon.
What's up, guys? It's Nia Sue, and it's time to take the quiz.
5 questions in less than 5 minutes every day. Listen and follow at thequiz.fox.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Preparing for Miami, from Miami. I'm Sherritt Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. The Indiana Hoosiers landing at the airport late Friday night in the Sunshine State. Head coach Chris Cignetti says they're locked in with plenty more to go over and go over again until Monday.
We'll go through it the second time through on a couple situations tomorrow on Friday, and then be ready to play Saturday night, which is, I guess, is Monday night, really. But we're on football calendar here.
The number 1 ranked Hoosiers looking to complete an undefeated season and capture their first ever national title in football by beating number 10 Miami, playing in their home stadium. The national title game kicks off at 7:30 Eastern from Hard Rock. A Franklin man is convicted for a drug deal that killed a person back in 2023. Jake McDaniel has more.
Franklin police looked into Breonna Taylor, who died in 2023 from fentanyl toxicity after taking pills that were made to look like oxycodone. Evidence showed that Aaron Maupin sold the pills to Taylor. Johnson County prosecutors say these fake pills are dangerous to the community, and they're promising to stay aggressive in holding dealers responsible for every person they kill. Maupin will be sentenced next month. Jake McDaniel, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
And the Indianapolis Colts are going back to familiar ground. They're relocating for training camp. The team announced on Friday that starting in 2027, their camp will be at the Indiana Farm Bureau Football Center on the northwest side of Indianapolis, where they had been previously when the facility first opened in 2008. The Colts had been at Westfield's Grand Park since 2018. I'm Sherritt Lewis, on the level, on the go, and at WIBC.com. Now here's your forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Wind chill values near 0 degrees, low temperatures in the lower teens. For Sunday, partly cloudy. Can't rule out some flurries late in the day. High temperatures on Sunday in the mid-20s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
You know exactly why you need to remodel that kitchen of yours. The space, it's outdated. You can't move around like you used to. It doesn't work like it needs to. You want to entertain and you want to improve your quality of life. This can happen, just not with the kitchen you have. You need to call Booher Remodeling. BOOHER. BooherRemodeling.com. They can take that old kitchen that's deteriorating and broken down and turn it into something that works for you and your family. their 5-step design process from start to finish: the consultation, the preliminary design, the design development, getting all the documents together, and then getting it done. The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in Central Indiana. Boer Remodeling will guide you through the entire process, starting with the free initial consultation, and they stand behind their work with a 2-year workmanship guarantee. Create that new kitchen. Design experts can use an existing layout or begin completely from scratch. Talk to Boer Remodeling today. BOOHER. BoerRemodeling.com. That's BoerRemodeling.com.
Every 15 seconds, someone is diagnosed with cancer. If it's happened to you or someone you love, the American Cancer Society can help at every step of the journey. Visit cancer.org today.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And good afternoon, and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. Thanks so much for being with us. I want to give a big shout out to the folks who attended the Gatekeepers Church Security Conference that I spoke at today up in Anderson, Indiana. It was the Ovid Community Church, and I was up there with some really fine folks. Jimmy Meeks. Jimmy is a retired police officer. He's also a pastor and a leading voice on the issue of church safety. It's something he's focused on very intently, and that's also something I've looked at specifically. You know, it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. My dad, as you may have heard me say, retired at age 88 as a Methodist pastor, preached at a tiny little church out in western Indiana, I should say, Rosedale, Indiana. And he's still kicking, by the way, at 95. But that was kind of the environment I grew up in, and keeping people safe in church is something that I think is an incredibly important topic because we are targets when we're in church. And listen, it's not all people who have some passionate hatred of Christians. That's not necessarily, we've certainly seen that. We've seen that happen even recently, even an attack on school children who were in church praying, associated with a Christian school, and we've certainly seen that. But we also see incidents where it's domestic violence. You know, an abusive spouse, abusive partner, or ex knows where you're going to be during certain hours of certain days, and if they want to target you and potentially others you're with, they can choose to do that at church, and never a good situation. And some people are just nuts. They're just crazy. And so they decide to attack gatherings of people, and that can certainly include church. So we've seen a number of attacks, and I've talked about them here, and they get a lot of news coverage for some brief amount of time. But to me, there's not quite enough attention given to what measures we can go through, we can undertake to keep people safe in church. And that was exactly the topic of the conference today. Sheriff John Beeman, the Madison County Sheriff, was also there and did a very nice job in his part of the presentation. And then I was there from my end of things. You know, I've trained a number of church security teams, and that is also something that's been important to me. And so, anyway, I had a pretty much a full sanctuary there at Ovid Community Church up in Anderson, and we talked a lot about church security, and what I focused on initially, anyway, were on some of the legal issues associated with keeping people safe in church. For instance, there is no law in Indiana that says that it's illegal to have a gun in the church. And by the way, we're getting reports in here that the volume is way down. I'm getting several comments on the YouTube feed, so I don't know if there's an issue there. I got the mic right up next to my face, like I always do. So I don't know. Maybe we'll work on that here from the technical side during the next break. So I apologize if you're having trouble hearing. But at any rate, there's never been a law in Indiana that says it's illegal to have a gun in church. Because that's one of the first questions I asked. We're going to address the legal issues associated with church security. First question is it legal to carry a gun in church? In some states, believe it or not, how short-sighted and stupid this is, it's illegal to have a gun in a church, which I would never understand. And it's something that I would fight tooth and nail if anyone ever tried to introduce such legislation here in Indiana. But in Indiana, it is not illegal to have a gun in a church. However, for generations, it's been illegal to have a gun on school property. And the problem there is that school property is defined as including any other building or any other property that's co-owned or on the same property with a school. So, for instance, how many parochial schools have a church on the same property? Or looking at it the other way around, how many Catholic churches have a parochial school on the same property? That makes the church school property. If you have a licensed daycare, this is a state licensed daycare. And I understand that churches may go through a little separate licensing process, but if there is a state licensed daycare on the same property or in the same building, then that renders all of the property, including the church, school property. And we're talking about it being illegal to have guns on school property. We're talking about K through 12 and licensed daycares. That's what that applies to. There's no law in Indiana, for instance, that says it's illegal to have a gun on a college campus. It may be against the college's policy. If they catch you with a gun, they may kick you off. If you're an employee, they may fire you. If you're a student, they may expel you. And I've talked to multiple people over the years. That's exactly what's happened to them. But it's not illegal. You don't go to jail unless, of course, someone tries to throw you off the college campus. You refuse. Now you're trespassing and could potentially go to jail for trespassing. But it's not illegal. So talking about school property, we're talking about K through 12 and licensed daycares. And a church that's on the same property with a school or co-owned with a school is also considered school property. And so for years, also for generations, it was illegal to carry a gun in church. If you wanted to go to worship with your family, with your fellow Christians or your fellow Muslims or whatever religion you choose to participate in, your choice. One of the great things about this country, great things about the First Amendment. But if you wanted to go worship, you could not take a firearm with you if there was a church anywhere, if there was a school anywhere on the same property. And so the good news is that we changed that in 2019. There was a bill that I fought very, very hard for with other people like Ben Smalls, Representative Ben Smalls, Representative Jerry Torr was instrumental in that, Representative Jim Lucas, Peggy Mayfield, and several others. We fought for this tooth and nail, and eventually, it took us 2 or 3 sessions of the Indiana General Assembly, but we ultimately got it done. And when we got it done, what the bill now says is that if you are attending a worship service or a religious ceremony in a house of worship, or if you're performing your official duties as an employer or employee, I should say, if you're performing your official duties as an employee or a volunteer at a house of worship, then you are not subject to the law that says having a gun on school property is a level 6 felony. You are not committing a crime. If you're attending a worship service or a religious ceremony in a house of worship or performing your official duties as an employee or volunteer at a house of worship located on school property, that's now entirely legal. And I was so thrilled to get this passed because it literally affects, well, I don't know, hundreds of thousands, millions of people in Indiana who for years could not legally carry a gun to church for fear of being convicted of a level 6 felony. Now, there are several exceptions to the law that says it's a crime to have a gun on school property, one of which was if you're authorized by the school board to possess a gun on school property. And so I had these folks who would be part of a church security team over the years who would call me or come visit, and they'd say, hey, we want to form our church security team. We need some advice. We have questions. And I would sit down and I would help them through that. And one of the first things, before 2019, one of the first things I'd have to ask is, do you have a school on the same grounds as your church? Oh, yeah, absolutely. There's a church, right next door or in the same building. Or, excuse me, a school right next door or in the same building. I'd say, well, okay, in order to have an armed security team, you have to go over and get authorization from the school board to have a security team in the church. And people look at me and say, no, you don't understand. They're the school people. We're the church people. We want to have a security team in the church, not the school. I said, well, I understand that. But since the church is considered school property, the only way you can legally have a gun there, if you're not a police officer, is to be authorized by the school board. So you're going to have to go over to the school people, specifically the board, and get authorization to have guns. And people would look at me like I'm crazy, but that's the way the law worked. After 2019, boom, church security teams now, whether they're volunteers or employees of the church, either one, performing their official duties, can now legally carry guns while performing their duties as the security team in a church. Worshipers, private citizens, can legally carry a gun when they go to church or to their mosque or to their synagogue or their temple or whatever their house of worship happens to be. Now, if you're going to your church located on school property, you have to be attending a worship service or a religious ceremony. And it's kind of funny. I get questions about this all the time. Say, well, what's the definition of worship service or a religious ceremony that makes it legal for you to go to church with a gun, even though it's located on school property? I said, well, it's not a defined term. I say, well, what about a wedding on a church that's on school property? I'll say, well, make sure somebody mentions God. Make sure somebody says a prayer. Make sure you can legitimately label that as a religious ceremony or a worship service. And so that's how that worked. And it was interesting because a lot of the folks were looking at each other in the audience today at the church security conference that I spoke at, and a lot of folks were looking at each other saying, you know what, that's not a box we had checked. We had not thought about the legality of having an armed church security team, but that's something that we dramatically changed in 2019. I'll tell you what, we're at the quarter hour, a little past. We're going to take a break, and we'll see if we can't get that volume issue addressed as well. But we'll be right back. We want to entertain your calls throughout the show, as we always do. Give us a call, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. We're talking about church security right now. We're going to branch out and talk about a lot of other things throughout the show and take your Second Amendment-related questions and comments throughout the show. So give us a call. Join the show, 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Tickets are on sale right now for Trump 1 year later. The highs, the lows, how we win the midterms. Happening at the Hyatt Regency, downtown Indianapolis. The bourbon will flow. The food will be fantastic. We're going to go over Trump's past year and how we use that to win the midterms. It's going to be informing, entertaining, and very, very funny. I promise. Join us, Trump 1 year later. Brought to you by Premier Arms, PA Jewelers, Defiance Beef, Chimney Solutions, and WIBC. Get your tickets at WIBC.com.
That's another amazing run by Team USA.
Mom, think I'll be on Team USA one day?
Well, I'll take this one.
What? Are you speaking to us?
Yes, and to answer your question, anything's possible, especially with Xfinity.
So, I can be the best snowboarder ever?
Well, I can't guarantee that, but Xfinity can guarantee that your internet price won't change for 5 years.
Okay. What if I practice every day?
Then maybe you'll be snowboarding for Team USA at the next Olympic Winter Games. And Mom, you'll still be paying the same price for Wi-Fi.
Ooh, really stuck the landing there.
It's the Xfinity Gold Medal Celebration. Now through February 22nd, get our best price on gig Wi-Fi for 5 years guaranteed, just $50 a month. Plus, get Peacock Premium included for 2 years. That's a $10.99 value per month. Xfinity. Imagine that. Proud partner of Team USA. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Actual speeds vary.
The Indianapolis real estate market is strong, but not easy. Now is a good time to sell only if you hire a real estate team that knows how to aggressively market your home like Mark Dietel Realty. You want a fast, guaranteed, no-hassle home sale, but don't want to give up hard-earned equity to do it. Mark Dietel is the real estate expert trusted and recommended with the sale of your home. Mark Dietel guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed-upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Pick your move date. No long-term contracts. You can cancel at any time. Neil in Indianapolis said, I'd already moved and listed my old home with an agent friend for 60 days. Not happy? I decided to evaluate the Mark Dietel marketing plan, and I switched. To my relief, after about 15 days on the market, the Mark Dietel team sold my home as is for the price I needed. Call the local Indianapolis agent, trusted and recommended. The agent who guarantees your home sold or he'll buy it. That's Mark Dietel. Call today, 317-755-4232 for all the details, or go online to markdietel.com. That's Mark Dietel, D-I-E-T-E-L, markdietel.com.
Are you Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our most popular class is Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. We've got one of those coming up on Saturday, March 7th. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. at Indy Arms Company, conveniently located on the northeast side, 2550 East 55th Street. Got a nice, big, comfortable classroom. It's going to be 5 hours of the most important legal information that you need as an Indiana gun owner. We cover a detailed discussion of the law of self-defense, when you are and are not justified in using force to defend yourself or others, as well as where you can and cannot carry a firearm, how you can become a prohibited possessor without even really realizing it through various functions of both state and federal law. That and a whole heck of a lot more. That's what we cover. 5 hours of the most important legal information you need. Check that out at tactical-firearms.com. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. We'd love to see you there. You can register right online at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Are you tired of high cable TV rates? Sign up for Dish today and get a $500 bonus offer while supplies last. Plus, lock in your price for 2 years guaranteed. Call All American Dish, your Dish authorized retailer now.
800-296-1251. 800-296-1251. That's 800-296-1251. Offers require credit qualification, 24-month commitment, early termination fee, and e-auto pay. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Stay warm and cozy all winter long with a Howald Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing tune-up. Seasonal wear and tear can take its toll on your furnace. Schedule now. Howald Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing, where coming home never felt so good.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, your grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
Through their service, veterans have our backs. Now we should have theirs. Learn more at gotyoursix.org.
Trust our family to take care of your family. Call us today for our family maintenance plan at 317-577-8077.
Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
This hour powered by Family Heating and Air, your American Standard Air dealer. Nobody cares for you like family.
Indy Humane. Find your new best friend today. Visit indyhumane.org.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. So again, we're talking a little bit about church security, and I'll tell you what, just like in my Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class, when I'm covering these kind of legal issues on self-defense or security, personal defense, some of the very best parts of the discussion or course, or in this case, my discussion up during the Gatekeepers Church Security Conference came from the questions. That's why I always enjoy taking your calls here on the Gun Guy Show as well. A lot of times people bring up really important issues and with insightful questions. And that very much came up today. Very interesting questions. For instance, if you're a church security team and someone comes in and simply starts vandalizing the church, they come into the sanctuary and they're breaking windows, or they're otherwise vandalizing the church right there in front of the security team. What are you legally able to do in that point, in that instance? And it's really an interesting question, because you think about that. First of all, if you're an armed security team, could you pull your gun and point it at them and say, stop vandalizing our sanctuary? Well, the act of pointing a firearm at someone is a crime. And there are only a few exceptions. One is if you're justified in the use of deadly force in self-defense. Are you justified in using deadly force in self-defense in that situation? No, they're not attacking you. They're just vandalizing the church. All right. You can point a gun in some situations in order to effect a citizen's arrest. Interesting. But that's only if a felony's been committed and you have probable cause to believe the person you're arresting, quote unquote, committed that felony. Is the act of vandalizing a church a felony? Well, it's called criminal mischief in Indiana. We don't call it vandalism as a crime. It's called criminal mischief. It's only a felony if it causes $50,000 or more of damage. Otherwise, it's a misdemeanor. So someone in tearing up the church, now, I don't think it would take too awfully long to get up to $50,000 worth of damage, but that's not something I think you're going to accurately be able to calculate in your head as someone's in the process of vandalizing the church. So, no, you could not do a citizen's arrest, which would allow you to point a gun, because a felony's not been committed, not until you reach a $50,000 level of damage to the church. They're not attacking you or another person. They're just attacking the property of the church. That does not allow you to use force against them. That rises to the level of being able to use your gun. And as frustrating as that would be, and I could tell people didn't like this answer and were somewhat frustrated by it, but it's the way the law functions. You would simply have to be a good witness, call 911. Being a good witness means recording that. If you got a phone handy, record that on your phone. Be very, very aware that this could transition, obviously, from this person who's obviously imbalanced if they just walk into a church and start vandalizing it in front of a bunch of worshipers. Be very, very aware that this could transition to an attack on people very quickly. And I would be very much prepared to defend myself and defend others there. But in that instance, you would not be justified, for instance, in going to your gun, not unless there's a threat against an individual, not unless it rose to the level of the person committing a felony so you could effect a citizen's arrest. But that's how it gets interesting. And by the way, we cover all those kinds of issues in my Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class. But that's why it gets really interesting to get into some of these issues, because these are not things that are intuitive. These are not things that are obvious to a typical person who owns a gun, carries a gun. That's even why I put that class together years ago, because I often would represent people caught up in situations where they believed what they were doing was totally legal at the time they did it. It even seemed logical to them that doing what they did, often with a gun, given the nature of my legal practice, it seemed logical to them that they ought to be able to do what they were doing. They looked at themselves as the good guy and somebody else as the bad guy, and didn't really imagine that they might be the one prosecuted for a crime. And so I'd be meeting with someone in a consultation in my office, or I'd go down to the jail if they hadn't bonded out yet and have a meeting with them down there, and they're describing to me what they've done. Very often, if you've taken my Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class, I always tell this story. Very often, they tell me something they've done with a gun, followed by the question, is that really illegal? And I have to fight the temptation to say, well, you're in jail. Now, getting arrested, getting prosecuted doesn't necessarily answer the question. It's not dispositive. You may have been arrested and prosecuted, and you may be completely innocent of any real crime, and we ultimately get those charges dismissed, or you go to trial and win, or you accept a plea agreement for much, much lower level charges, potentially. But someone in the prosecutor's office and someone in the police department decided what you were doing was illegal, such that charges were filed against you. And so learning these issues is something you want to do before you've got the orange jumpsuit that says jail on the back. And it's especially tough when you inject yourself into a situation. Now, if you're a church security team, hey, that's part of your responsibility to some degree. You're there, first and foremost, to protect people, to protect the safety of people that are there attending that church. And you signed up to do that. You signed up to be a part of that team because you wanted to be the good guy. You wanted to protect the innocent people in that church from the bad guys. But that's where it gets tricky when it comes to the law, because there are a lot of restrictions on what you can and cannot do with a firearm. And all those have to be absolutely followed, or you run into the problem of potentially being prosecuted yourself. And I think that was an excellent example. The limitation on citizens' arrest, for instance, Jimmy Meeks, the speaker before me, who again did a really nice job. He's passionate. You can tell he's also a pastor. He's got a little Southern Baptist in him there in terms of his presentation style, which is really good. It was really effective, and I really enjoyed talking to him and listening to his presentation. But he talked about, he recommended that members of church security teams always keep flex handcuffs on them. So if they needed to detain someone, they'd be capable of doing that and have the necessary equipment to render someone safe while you're waiting on the cavalry to arrive in the form of the police department after somebody calls 911. And that, by definition, made me want to make sure I covered when a private citizen can effect a citizen's arrest, and in particular, when they can use force to effect a citizen's arrest, because that's not something that most people are going to necessarily think about or know or be aware of. And the answer to that is, if a felony's been committed and you have probable cause to believe this person committed that felony, then you can detain them. You can, quote unquote, arrest them. What if you detain someone using some level of force to do so, and it turns out you were not justified in doing that? That they hadn't committed a felony, you had no probable cause to believe they'd committed a felony, but you tackle them, you get them on the ground, you put your flex handcuffs on them. Well, there's a crime in Indiana. It's called criminal confinement. If you inhibit someone's movement against their will, that's a crime. It's criminal confinement. And if you do that with a deadly weapon, that's felony criminal confinement. How important is it for you to understand? You're a member of a church security team. You got your flex handcuffs you're carrying along with your gun. You're there to protect the parishioners, the worshipers, the innocent people in your church. Next thing you know, you're potentially facing criminal charges because you tackled someone, you put them in handcuffs, and it turned out you were not justified in doing so. So that's why I always want to touch base on those things. It's not overly complicated, but it's not intuitive. In other words, a lot of these things are not things that would just pop into your head without having studied it or gone to a course where you actually learn what the rules are. I'll tell you what, it's time to take a break, but before we do that, Chuck has called in and has a scenario question about churches. So let's go to the phone lines. And Chuck, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
How's it going?
Good, man. Thanks for calling. What you got?
Hey, quick question. In the church scenario, let's say that gentleman comes in there and he's vandalizing your church with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
At the point that you or another parishioner, or you and another parishioner, and go up and try to stop him from doing that, if he turns that bat on you, is that justifiable to pull your weapon?
Yeah, so you just answered the question, Chuck. You know the answer to this, don't you?
Well, I just thought once he used the bat, if it was a bat, it's a deadly weapon. Then at that point, you can defend yourself with a weapon.
Well, that's exactly right. See, the rules can change, and during a particular encounter. In other words, while he's just vandalizing the church, and he's not threatening any individual, he's just busily trying to destroy as much church property as he can. Well, now the rules of self-defense don't apply. However, you approach him exactly as you said, Chuck, and he then turns the bat on you or attempts to hit you with that bat or threatens you with that bat. Now the rules have changed because now you're no longer defending church property. Now you're defending yourself. Same thing. You can never use deadly force merely to defend your personal property. So I'm not talking about your home. That's the Castle Doctrine. That's a whole different set of rules. But your personal property, so your car, your wallet, your jewelry, your cash, personal property. Law says you can never use deadly force. You can use reasonable force, but you can't use deadly force to defend your property. So if I go out and I'm looking out the window, I can look right down here at the studio, look down at the parking lot here at our new building at WIBC, and I can see my car sitting there. What if I see a guy breaking into my car, and I run down there, and I'm yelling at him, "Hey, man, get away from my car. That's my car. Leave my car alone." And he's just stealing my car. He's not threatening me. It's not a carjacking. It's not like I'm in my car, and he's threatening me with a weapon to take my car. He's just stealing my car. He's ignoring me. But then as I approach him, he takes the tire iron that he had just used to break my car window, now comes after me, swinging that tire iron at me. Now the rules have changed, because now I'm not defending my car anymore. I'm not defending my personal property. Now I'm defending my life. And just like Chuck's scenario, the rules have changed mid-encounter because I'm no longer defending my personal property. I'm defending my life, which allows me then to use a proportionate amount of force in self-defense. And if a deadly weapon is being used against me, a weapon that can cause me serious bodily injury, that even justifies me in going all the way to deadly force to defend myself. Well, it's a great question, Chuck. I'm glad you called. And I'll tell you what, keep them coming. Give us calls, 317-239-9393. We're a little past the bottom of the hour, so we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Say it out loud. Indiana. National Championship.
This day belongs to the number one Indiana Hoosiers.
2 seasons ago, rock bottom. Today, one game away from the title.
Indiana scores again.
IU versus Miami. Hoosier history happens here. Coverage begins Monday at 6:30 on 93 WIBC.
When the new year hits, every business could use a little something to stay ahead. A lift, a jump start, an edge, or perhaps a boost. Like the all-new 5-year business boost from Comcast Business. It's the certainty of a price lock for 5 years on qualifying internet bundles. Plus, you'll have the most reliable Wi-Fi with our best equipment, so your whole team can stay connected at a great rate. And to sweeten the deal, ask about a $500 prepaid card when you add 2 lines of mobile. It's the boost your business deserves. So sign up for the 5-year business boost and get a 5-year price lock on ultra-reliable Wi-Fi. Plus, ask about a $500 prepaid card. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Ends 2/22/26, new customers only. 1-year contract required for guaranteed rate. 5-year pricing applies to monthly service charge excluding taxes and fees. Best Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report, May 2025.
You ready to build your custom dream home? Check out Joiner Homes based out of Greenfield. See one of their model homes in person anytime. It is a great way for you to experience the customization and quality of a Joiner Homes custom built home. Plus, you can meet with a new home specialist to learn about their building process. Available lots if you don't already have one. Find out about floor plans and where they build. Model homes are open 7 days a week from noon to 5 and walk-ins are welcome. Find out more at joinerhomes.com.
When I was 48 years old,
old, I had a massive heart attack.
Jake Query, sports radio host and announcer for the IndyCar Radio Network, shares his story as a registered organ donor.
I've always heard the assumption that I don't know about being an organ donor because if you go into the ER, they're going to be more anxious to get your organs. I'm kind of proof that's not the case. When your life is the one that's in the balance, your life is the priority.
Say yes to organ donation.
I have the opportunity to allow another group of people to continue the love and the beauty of life. Why wouldn't I do it?
To learn more, go to donatelifeindiana.org.
Fox News, I'm Kathleen Maloney. The DOJ investigating Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey for making comments that impede ICE enforcement efforts.
Mayor Frey says the probe is meant to intimidate him. Governor Walz responded in part, weaponizing the justice system against your opponents is an authoritarian tactic.
Fox's Matt Finn, Republican Senator Tom Cotton making the case in favor of U.S. control of Greenland. He spoke on Fox News Live.
Any attack from Russia or China would come, at least in part, over the North Pole. Greenland also has large deposits of rare earth elements, which China currently uses as leverage against the United States and our allies.
President Trump announcing a 10% tariff today on goods from 8 European countries that oppose U.S. control of Greenland. It goes into effect February 1st. America is listening to Fox News.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Turn your book idea into publishing gold.
800-215-6818. 800-215-6818. That's 800-215-6818.
Enjoying a healthy dinner that tastes great means eating out at a pricey restaurant, right? Wrong. Healthy Choice Simply Steamers are delicious and healthy. The tray and tray steam technology delivers crisp veggies and tender protein in tasty selections, like Healthy Choice Simply Steamers grilled chicken and broccoli Alfredo. It's a satisfying meal with 28 grams of protein and nothing artificial. Healthy Choice Simply Steamers. What having it all tastes like.
Lose weight or stop smoking with hypnosis, guaranteed or your money back. Only $59.99. Destroy unwanted cravings, late night eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. Also destroy your desire to smoke without cravings, irritability, or weight gain, or your money back. Hypnosis January 29th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss at 5:30 p.m., stop smoking at 8. And January 31st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss 11 a.m., stop smoking at 2. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
It's a new year. Ready for a fresh start or career reboot? At My Computer Career, prep for a more recession-resistant future in the high-demand fields of IT, cybersecurity, in months, not years, including AI. Whether you're starting out or switching careers, no prior training is needed. Attend school online from home or on campus. Go to mycomputercareer.edu to take the free career evaluation today. mycomputercareer.edu, an elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. You know, one topic that also came up during the church safety conference I spoke to today, a lot of people, when you join something like a security team, you understandably and rationally, excuse me, I had to cough there all of a sudden, are going to be concerned about liability. For instance, can you get sued even though you've lawfully and justifiably used a gun in self-defense? Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to go ahead and take an early break here because I've got a cough like crazy that just hit me. We're going to take an early break. We'll come back. We'll address that when we come back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Protests rage on.
93 WIBC.
The U.S. military heavily involved in what's going on.
What happens next?
The U.S. is sending an aircraft carrier.
All options remain on the table.
Happens here.
Deadly crackdown on protests.
These locations are off limits.
SWAT guys came running out and were pushing everybody back. Gets the crowd riled up.
93 WIBC Mobile News.
For the economic misery of people.
Indiana is open for business.
On air, online, and on Alexa.
We are the National Park Foundation, and together with you, we're creating a future where every person, every generation, gets their chance at an unforgettable moment. Learn more at nationalparks.org/foundation.
Life can be full of risks. One thing you shouldn't take a risk with ever is your family's health insurance. If you're self-employed or you now need affordable health insurance, you need to make this free call right now and see how the Health Insurance Helpline can help you get it. We specialize in helping the self-employed and people just like you that need affordable health insurance to get it. We have short and long-term health insurance plans, and some even cover dental, vision, and prescription drugs. Don't take a risk with your family's health insurance. It's not worth it. If you're self-employed or now need affordable health insurance, call right now and learn for free how to get it. Listen, affordable health insurance plans for everyone just like you are a free phone call away. So give us a shout right now.
800-659-7540. 800-659-7540. 800-659-7540. That's 800-659-7540.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. You know, one thing we do often and we really enjoy doing is restore people's gun rights. You have a low-level felony conviction, something that's inhibiting you from exercising your Second Amendment rights. For a lot of convictions, not necessarily all, but a lot of convictions, we can expunge that conviction, restore your rights. It's also a restoration process, even for convictions for something like a crime of domestic violence. It has to be at least 5 years or other restrictions. But there are different ways legally that we can potentially restore people's gun rights who haven't been able to exercise those rights in several years. If that applies to you, a family member, a loved one, a friend, just have them contact us through the website. It's relfordlaw.com, and we'll talk about whether we can potentially restore your gun rights as well. That's relfordlaw.com.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Custom jewelry is not out of reach with PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse. At PA Jewelers, you can customize any piece of jewelry for that special someone. PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse in Brownsburg. Gold, diamonds, gemstones, and of course those watches from Flederman Von Riest, assembled right here in Indiana. Custom designed jewelry with PA Jewelers at the Farmhouse. Custom jewelry made just for you. PA Jewelers, 3750 South Green Street in Brownsburg. 317-456-4010. PA Jewelers.
Hey, Hoosier fans, this is your head coach, Kurt Signetti. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, I highly recommend the exclusive partner of IU Athletics, True Blood Real Estate. They're an Indiana-owned company with beautiful offices across the state. True Blood is a tech-driven company that provides their clients with a winning game plan, which is exactly why they are our exclusive partner. If you're looking to buy or sell, call True Blood Real Estate. Go IU.
KC and the Sunshine Band, live at Old National Center, January 23rd at 7:30 p.m. It's the ultimate throwback party. Get your tickets today at WIBC.com.
Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
Yeah, and forgive me for going to that break there. I'm getting over. I had for most of the week this flu that's been going around, and it didn't affect me too bad. My wife was much sicker than I was, but it's lingering around a little bit. And man, I'll tell you what, sometimes even if you're doing live radio and you've got a cough, you've just got a cough. And so I apologize for that. In this nice, gleaming new studio, we're also not supposed to have anything to drink in here for fear of ruining the equipment or the carpet or whatnot, which doesn't help you out much when you've got a cough and you're doing live radio for 2 hours. But hey, we'll get through that just fine. But I mentioned there before my coughing fit that a big question that came up today was the issue of personal liability. You know, you're carrying a gun, you're a member of a church security team, not unlike just carrying a gun as part of your everyday routine, just exactly like I do. Do you have to worry about if you use your gun at some point that you can be sued? Well, of course you do. And it's America, so anybody can be sued for anything. But also in 2019, the same year that we passed the church carry bill, we also passed the new self-defense immunity law that I actually wrote and fought for very hard, and to get it passed. And this was inspired by a lady who was my client and has become my friend, and her name at the time was Kirsty Janin, and she's a single mom, 2 teenage daughters, and she witnessed a traffic stop that literally occurred right in front of her house. And she's in a very small town, Rising Sun, Indiana. And typical of small town Indiana, the police officer who's performing this traffic stop, literally right in front of Kirsty's house, had dropped off the officer's son at Kirsty's house because the officer's son, knew Kirsty's daughter. So the son is there. They're all watching through the front window as the police officer is performing this traffic stop. The guy who got pulled over, a guy named Justin Holland, who it turns out was high on drugs at the time, methamphetamine and others. He gets out of his car. He's yelling and screaming incomprehensible gibberish at the officer. The officer saying, "Get back in the car, get back in the car." Justin Holland does not listen to him. Officer saying, "Put your hands on the car, stop, put your hands on the car." He doesn't want to listen to that. Justin Holland walks right up on the officer, tackles him, and takes him to the ground. Now they're in a fight, and they're fighting over the officer's gun. The officer is not winning that fight. Justin Holland, who's a pretty good-sized guy and a former high school wrestler, is gaining control of the officer's gun. And the gun is coming around, soon to be pointed directly at the face of the police officer. His own son is watching this struggle as Kirsty and Kirsty's daughter are. Kirsty decides she's got to take action. She's not going to allow this police officer to get murdered right there in her front yard. She grabs her own gun, runs out there. She's yelling for this guy to get off the officer. He doesn't. She's saying, "Stop, stop, get off, get off." He doesn't. The gun's getting closer and closer to the officer's face. Kirsty takes her gun, shoots the guy, and he dies. So she's a hero. No question, she's a hero. The officer obviously thought she was a hero. He told me later, when he heard the gunshot that was Kirsty's gunshot, he thought it was him dying. He thought it was him getting shot. And he said a little prayer that he just hoped his son didn't watch him just get murdered. But it was Kirsty being a hero. Officer thought she was a hero. Local prosecutor's office cleared her. And there was no question, she's a hero. No possibility of criminal charges against her, obviously. She saved a life and was absolutely justified by our self-defense statute in doing so. But just shy of 2 years later, she gets sued for millions of dollars by some scumbag law firm across the river in Cincinnati. And they sue her for millions of dollars. Now suddenly she's worried about losing her house. She's worried about losing her kids' college savings fund. She's worried about her financial future because she's getting sued for lawfully and justifiably using force. And what can she then do? We have to defend the lawsuit. And right away, the plaintiff's firm is saying, "Hey, no problem. We'll settle for the amount of your homeowner's coverage." And you'll be fine. Just pay us $300,000 and we'll go away. I guess he was greatly offended by that, saying, "Hold on. I don't want there to be any implication that I did something wrong." I don't want any payment being made on based on what I did. Well, the local FOP down there, the Fraternal Order of Police, started a GoFundMe, raised a bunch of money. Then they called NRA in Virginia and said, we want a self-defense attorney here in Indiana. And the name of the GoFundMe, by the way, was called Kisty's Best Defense. It's probably still out there posted. You can look it up and see the story posted there as part of that whole process. But then they called me, and Kisty called me specifically and asked for me to defend her in that lawsuit, which of course I did. And I told her right away, the first conversation, I said, we're going to do two things. We're going to win this ridiculous lawsuit and get this thing thrown out. But we're also going to use this lawsuit as a means to get the law changed. And that's exactly what we did in 2019. We passed what we call the self-defense immunity law. And it says if you are justified in using force in self-defense or defense of a third person, as defined by Indiana's self-defense statute, you have absolute complete immunity for that. If you nonetheless get sued, you can use that statute to get that lawsuit thrown out early before trial on what's called summary judgment. And for having filed that frivolous lawsuit, the plaintiff has to pay you back all of your attorney's fees. It is the strongest self-defense immunity law in the country. And I'm damn proud of it. I like to brag about it, but I'll tell you what, having been to the committee hearings in both the House and the Senate in 2019 when we got that passed, I don't get to take the credit for that thing passing, let me just tell you. Because it was Kirstie Janin who testified in both the House and the Senate and told the story of how she feared for her financial future and her daughter's financial future, all because she did the right thing, because she didn't want a police officer to be murdered in her front yard. And she felt like she had to do this for the sake of her neighborhood and her community and the police officer himself. And for all of that reason, she really hoped that future Hoosiers would get more protection than what she potentially had in those situations. And it flew through the legislature. And it was, I give full credit, not to me for putting it together, but for Kirstie, who really was the driving force behind getting that passed. So that's protection we have in Indiana since 2019 that also people should be aware of. We're coming up on the top of the hour. We're taking a break. We got a couple of callers, so please be patient with us. We'll go to you right after the break here at the top of the hour. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
That's another amazing run by Team USA.
Mom, think I'll be on Team USA one day?
Well, I'll take this one.
What? Are you speaking to us?
Yes, and to answer your question, anything's possible, especially with Xfinity.
So, I can be the best snowboarder ever?
Well, I can't guarantee that, but Xfinity can guarantee that your internet price won't change for 5 years.
Okay. What if I practice every day?
Then maybe you'll be snowboarding for Team USA at the next Olympic Winter Games. And Mom, you'll still be paying the same price for Wi-Fi.
Ooh, really stuck the landing there.
It's the Xfinity Gold Medal Celebration. Now through February 22nd, get our best price on gig Wi-Fi for 5 years guaranteed, just $50 a month. Plus, get Peacock Premium included for 2 years. That's a $10.99 value per month. Xfinity. Imagine that. Proud partner of Team USA. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Taxes and fees extra. Actual speeds vary.
It's time. You've been putting off that kitchen or bath remodel long enough. What are you waiting for? Get started today with Boer Remodeling. Boer Remodeling customer Kathy had a bath remodel with Boer. Kathy, talk a little bit about your experience.
Our experience with Boer has been terrific. The process was so easy and seamless. When we decided to do a larger remodel of our first floor, Boer was the first company we thought of hiring.
And were you happy with the results?
The results are amazing, and we are so happy with our home and the work that Boer did.
Peter is another recent Boer Remodeling customer with a new kitchen. Peter, what was the best part about working with Boer?
We especially liked the active participation that we were able to have in selection of stone for the countertops. Really came out beautiful. The cabinets also came out very, very well.
The best materials, the most skilled craftsmen in Central Indiana. They'll guide you through the entire process. Start with a free consultation. Talk to Boer Remodeling today. That's BOOHER, BoerRemodeling.com.
Enjoying a healthy dinner that tastes great means eating out at a pricey restaurant, right? Wrong. Healthy Choice Simply Steamers are delicious and healthy. The tray and tray steam technology delivers crisp veggies and tender protein in tasty selections, like Healthy Choice Simply Steamers grilled chicken and broccoli Alfredo. It's a satisfying meal with 28 grams of protein and nothing artificial. Healthy Choice Simply Steamers. What having it all tastes like.
Join us every Friday right around 5:50 for Beer Sample Friday.
Brought to you by Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus, home of free delivery within 75 miles of their store.
Planning for retirement? It's a little like marriage. We have no idea what we're getting into. Tune in to Fire Your Financial Advisor, Sunday mornings at 7 on WIBC.
Adopting a teen can be fulfilling and rewarding. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
From the Duke & Air Heating and Cooling Mitsubishi Electric Studios, this is 93 WIBC HD1 HD2, Indianapolis.
Minnesota officials under investigation. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News. The DOJ investigating Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey for possibly interfering with ICE enforcement. Meanwhile, a federal judge rules ICE agents cannot use tear gas against peaceful protesters. Fox's Steve Harrigan with the latest.
4 people arrested overnight last night for failing to disperse. We've seen tear gas in the past at night. A number of different arrests. DHS releasing the photo of one arrest, a member of the Latin Kings gang who broke into an FBI vehicle, stole body armor and a weapon as well. The Justice Department opening up a criminal investigation against the governor and the mayor of Minneapolis, saying they are impeding federal agents trying to do their work here. There's been a sharp response from the governor and the mayor, both saying they're not going to be intimidated by any federal investigation.
They also say weaponizing the justice system against opponents is an authoritarian tactic. The U.S. launching another strike on ISIS targets in Syria.
The U.S. today saying that they did another strike in central Syria, part of Operation Hawkeye Strike, which the U.S. launched on December 22nd in response to the attack that led to the death of 2 members of the Iowa National Guard, as well as an American civilian interpreter. U.S. Central Command, which is the group that oversees military operations in that region, in the Middle East, as well as parts of Asia, they say that a strike resulted in the death of a leader affiliated with al-Qaeda who had direct ties to an ISIS terrorist responsible for that ambush attack on those 2 service members, as well as an American civilian interpreter. So far, they say there have been 100 targets that have been hit all over Syria related to ISIS targets.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. This following the recent strikes in Syria after that December death of 2 Iowa National Guard members. America is listening to Fox News.
From around the world,
Trey Yingst, joining us from Tel Aviv, Israel.
To Washington,
I'm Mike Emanuel.
To your own backyard. If a story impacts you or your wallet, we're on it. It's the Fox News Rundown. We give every story the deeper look it deserves with must-listen interviews and smart analysis from the voices you can trust. Start your day with the Fox News Rundown. Listen and follow now at foxnewsrundown.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
Hey, this is Trey Gowdy, host of the Trey Gowdy Podcast. Every Tuesday, you'll hear what's on my mind. Plus, every Thursday, there's a special bonus episode where we answer the questions that are on your mind. Make sure to spend your Tuesdays and Thursdays with Trey. Subscribe now at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts. Hope to see you.
America's listening. 93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Treating it like any other game. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. The national title game getting closer for Indiana. They landed in Miami Friday night. From the tarmac, head coach Curt Cignetti said, while it's nice being in warm and sunny Florida, not much will change when it comes to getting the team ready for this one.
What's occupied my thoughts is preparation. I mean, just like you prepare for any other game.
The college football national championship game is Monday with a 7:30 kickoff. IU, the 1 seed, Miami, a 10 seed. Staying with football, Gary, Indiana is proposing 3 potential sites for the Chicago Bears to put the new stadium they want to build. Indiana State Senator Rodney Pohl of Porter County told Wish TV that he's supportive of Senate Bill 27, which would create a stadium authority for the region.
Obviously, we have to make the dollars make sense. I mean, we're all very excited about this, but we do not want to burden
the taxpayer with this.
He said the Bears moving to Northwest Indiana also means jobs and other investments. The team is currently having trouble getting anywhere with leaders in the Windy City and the state of Illinois. And Indiana State Trooper Aaron Smith being remembered after the man who hit and killed him in a stolen vehicle was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Aaron's father, Gary Smith, says his son was a great trooper and an even better man.
Aaron served. He served with his heart. He gave even off duty so many times to serve the public. It is a great loss, not only for the ISP.
More than 150 officers from all across the state joined the Smith family at Friday's sentencing in Hendricks County to show their support. I'm Jarrett Lewis on The Level on the go and at WIBC.com. Now the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Wind chill values near 0 degrees, low temperatures in the lower teens. For Sunday, partly cloudy. Can't rule out some flurries late in the day. High temperatures on Sunday in the mid-20s. On Wish TV, Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Hi, my name's Robin Fletcher. I've smoked for 46 years. I went to a seminar in March of 27 and seen Mark. My best friend came with me. We both went to it, and neither one of us smoked a cigarette in almost 7.5 months. I took my 3 sisters and my brother-in-law and my sister's best friend and them went. None of them have smoked a cigarette, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
My name is Jen Carpenter. I went to a Mark Patrick seminar, the Stop Smoking, and it worked. A friend of mine also went, and he still no longer smokes, and it was just amazing.
Lose weight or stop smoking with hypnosis, guaranteed. Only $59.99. Don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all, or your money back. Stop the cravings and stop smoking for good. Stop Smoking Hypnosis begins at 8 p.m. on Thursday, January 29th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville, or at 2 p.m. on Saturday, January 31st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Registration 30 minutes before. Sign up today at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
For 22 years, Exercise Inc. has helped Hoosiers build muscle, lose weight, and transform their health, creating lifelong habits. Only takes 20 minutes once a week. Visit exerciseinc.com.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're really glad you're with us. And I'll tell you what, thanks so much to both Don and Jay, who have had the patience to stay on the line. Don, what you got for us, buddy?
So I have a question for you, and thanks for taking the call. This hinges off something you said a few minutes ago. So let's say in this scenario, you're witnessing a domestic in a public shopping mall parking lot, enough that warrants that you feel that this individual needs detained. You effect this detention, and then later on it gets, which would be a level 6 felony because it's in the presence of a child, and then later on it gets plussed down to a misdemeanor. Does that now retroactively open you up to liability? And I'll hang up and I'll listen to your response.
No, it's a great question, Don. The way that works is, even though it may have been pled down later, by definition, there was probable cause for you to believe a felony's been committed and this person committed it. We know that because a judge found probable cause for the charges. Otherwise, those charges could have never gone forward to begin with, even though a prosecutor decided to plead them down later on. So if a judge found probable cause for those charges to be filed and the guy to be prosecuted, by definition, you had probable cause to believe that, having observed it at the scene. So I would not be concerned about jeopardy in that situation, legal jeopardy, because I think you did exactly what was called for. Let's go back to the phone lines, and Jay is called. Jay, welcome to the Gun Guy Show, buddy.
Okay, so here's an interesting twist on the firearms in a church that also happens to have a daycare. All of the assets of a Boy Scout troop belong to the chartering organization. There was a church that chartered a Boy Scout troop for many years, and that Boy Scout troop had an active firearms safety and shooting program.
Yeah, for them to get their rifle badge.
To the point that the NRA gave a grant to the Boy Scout troop, and the Boy Scout troop purchased rifles and shotguns. So those rifles and shotguns that were used for training, for the safety training at the church, cleaning the firearms after we would do a shoot, and they were actually locked in a safe in the basement of the church. Those firearms were in a church that also had a daycare. How does that square? Was there illegal activity going on there, since there were firearms in a church that had a daycare, but the firearms belonged to the church?
Yeah, no, I can't imagine anybody's getting charged in that situation, Jay. It's an interesting question. First of all, there's a difference between all daycares and daycares that are licensed by the state. And I've been educated on this a little bit over the years, where I understand that churches go through a little different process to establish their daycares, and they may not be state licensed daycares. And if they're not state licensed daycares, then they don't count toward making that school property. Secondly, the fact that that they're being held by the administration, all the school board would need to do would be to authorize that. That is, whoever was in charge of maintaining those lockers and putting the guns in and out and had control over those lockers, as long as that person was authorized by the school board to do exactly that, that even if that was a state licensed daycare, or even if there was a school on the same property, then they'd be completely legal to do that as well. So it's a great question, an interesting question, and there may be twists and turns that I'm not seeing there. But at first blush, I don't think there's a problem, especially since, it's all being done above board. It's all obvious. It's a Boy Scout troop that, to allow those kids to get their marksmanship badges. And I've seen that in process. We used to have them out to Eagle Creek Pistol Range for them to earn those badges when I was running the range years ago, before Mayor Hogsett threw the civilians out of there. And it's just a neat process. So I gotta believe that they figured out a way to do all that completely legally. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a break here at the quarter hour. Before we do, I want to talk just a bit about the fact that now for 17 days, starting January 1, tax stamps for suppressors, short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, I should say, are all free. And listen, I have a number of tax stamps for all three of those items. And as I've mentioned here on the show before, I've become addicted to shooting suppressed. The more you shoot with a suppressor, the more you want to shoot with a suppressor. And the more suppressors you want to have for your various firearms. They obviously have to be compatible with whatever caliber you want to use them on. And I'm a big fan of a short-barreled rifle that you want to run suppressed. Why? So it's not, unwieldy and completely awkward to maneuver by having an 18-plus inch barrel on a shotgun, or a 16-plus inch barrel on a rifle, and then stick a 7 or 8 or whatever size suppressor on the end of that. You end up with a really long gun, and particularly a defensive gun like an SBR that you want to run, or a rifle that you want to suppress. It really makes it much more manageable, maneuverable to have an SBR. So I have a number of those. But I just really wanted to get in on the free tax stamp. I just wanted to go through the process. I wanted to go through it without having to get my credit card out. And so I bought a stripped lower for an AR. Bought it from Wilson Combat. I found a great deal. It's actually blemished, but the blemish is on the inside of the gun near the trigger housing in the lower receiver. And so it didn't bother me a bit. Even if it was on the outside, I probably would have then come up with an excuse to have it Cerakoted, something cool. But I bought a blemished stripped lower, so real cheap. I mean, $50. And all right, I said, now this can become anything at this point. A number of different calibers it's compatible with. I can make it a 300 blackout, a 5.56, or a couple of others. But I started putting together kind of off the top of my head how I wanted to put it together in terms of barrel length and whatnot. and had enough information to go ahead and fill out my Form 1. So Sunday night, so we're coming up on a week now. Sunday night, I submitted my Form 1 to ATF. So it's been, 6 days we're at here. Tomorrow night it'll be 7 since I submitted that. And listen, before the first, when we had a huge a volume of Form 1s and Form 4s for transfers being filed before the end of the year, after the first of the year, we had, on January 1st, there were 150 Form 1s or Form 4s that were filed. Before the surge, before the end of the year, I saw on one SBR, I saw a 24-hour turnaround time for a friend of mine. On a suppressor, I saw a 48-hour turnaround time. They were getting damn fast. But now that they have this huge volume, we'll see how fast they get through that. What I thought was fascinating, though, and one of the participants in the chat feature on YouTube just mentioned this, is that a gentleman being somewhat creative, and I think as a bit of a protest, as a little bit of a troll action going on here, but a guy named Zach Clark, and it doesn't say where he's from, he actually serialized just a washer, a metal washer, and then he submitted a design where he attached that metal washer that's now serialized, as it's required to be to build a suppressor. He simply attached in his design that washer to a potato and called it a suppressor, and he's now registering a potato as a suppressor. And listen, does that work? I mean, this is something that's been around for a long time. You jam a potato on the end of your gun or hollow a bit of it out to where you can slam the barrel down over it, and whether or not you then drill a hole through the rest of the potato for the bullet to exit, or you just shoot through it, either way, it's going to suppress the sound of that gunshot to some degree. If it diminishes the report of a firearm, then it's a suppressor. And that's what's been somewhat silly about the registration requirement for suppressors for all these years, is you can make a suppressor a lot of different ways. A pillow can be a suppressor. A potato can be a suppressor, as Zach Clark is making the point. And he submitted this. Now, the article I read that was at bearingarms.com said he hadn't yet received his registration. It will be interesting if the ATF gives him that. But I think what he's saying here is, since it's so incredibly easy to create these, it's a little ridiculous for us to have to go through this registration scheme, even though they're free now. Why should the government really care that much when so many different household items could be used to create a suppressor, and that in this case includes a potato? And with that, we're at the quarter hour. We're going to take a break. Give us a call. We had great callers so far this show. Let's keep it going. Give us a call. Join the discussion. 317-239-9393. 317-239-9393. We're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Say it out loud. Indiana. National Championship.
This day belongs to the #1 Indiana Hoosiers.
2 seasons ago, rock bottom. Today, one came away from the title.
Indiana scores again.
IU versus Miami. Hoosier history happens here. Coverage begins Monday at 6:30 on 93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. Our next Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class is coming up Saturday, March 7th. It's going to be at 9 a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. It's going to be at Indy Arms. It says 5 hours, the most important legal information you need as an Indiana gun owner. We'd love to see you there. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. You can sign up right online at tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Hammer and Nigel here for Premier Weight Loss Indy, PWLindy.com, 2 different locations. And look, everybody is somewhere different in their health journey. People aren't the same, and treatments should not be the same. This is why I love Premier Weight Loss Indy. It's an in-person visit. You're going to get a consultation with a professional, and they will customize a plan specifically for you. Again, no plans are the same because people are not the same. So if you really want to take your health to the next level this year, start by going online to pwlindy.com. I lost a bunch of weight of my own, but then I hit a plateau and I couldn't lose anymore. I reached out for help. Premier Weight Loss Indy jumped in the mix, and now I'm down 16 additional pounds in 2 months. pwlindy.com. Tell them Hammer and Nigel sent you. Take care of your health.
Hey, that Indy real estate market is strong, but it's not easy. Now is a good time to sell only if you hire real estate expert Mark Dietel, the only real estate agent we trust here in Indy. It was time for Michael and Speedway to downsize. Met up with Mark Dietel. They explained their amazing marketing plan. After just 3 days on the market, they accepted an offer $11,000 over asking price.
Mark Dietel is the only real estate expert we trust and recommend on the Hammer and Nigel show, and it's the guarantee that separates Mark Dietel from the competition. Mark Dietel guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. You pick the move date, no long-term contracts. You can cancel at any time. Nobody does it better than Mark Dietel. Contact him today, 317-755-4232. 755-4232, or go to markdietel.com. That's Mark, D-I-E-T-E-L, markdietel.com.
Serving Indiana means being ready for growing energy demands. At Duke Energy, we're adding more power to the grid and working on hundreds of local projects to make your energy more reliable. We've strengthened nearly 20,000 poles, updated more than 270 substations, and prevented hundreds of thousands of outage hours with self-healing grid technology, so your power can come back on faster than ever. That's the smarter energy future Indiana deserves. Paid for by Duke Energy shareholders.
Lose weight or stop smoking with hypnosis, guaranteed or your money back. Only $59.99. Destroy unwanted cravings, late night eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. Also destroy your desire to smoke without cravings, irritability, or weight gain, or your money back. Hypnosis January 29th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss at 5:30 p.m., stop smoking at 8. And January 31st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss 11 a.m., stop smoking at 2. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Being blind doesn't always look how others may think.
Retinitis pigmentosa aimed to overwhelm my family.
It tried to cut me down.
I know where to find support and where I can be seen.
Innovative research, educational resources, supportive community. The Foundation Fighting Blindness is leading the charge in finding treatments and cures for blinding diseases. Learn more at fightingblindness.org. A public service message from the Foundation Fighting Blindness.
Friendly reminder to change your filter. Head on over to our website at familyhvac.net for some of the best pricing on filters around.
Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Find the path to recovery that works for you. Learn more at cdc.gov/stopoverdose.
This hour powered by Family Heating and Air, your American Standard air dealer. Nobody cares for you like family.
Attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIPC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Interesting development out of the U.S. Department of Justice Office of Legal Counsel. And just what it sounds like, this is the office that within the Justice Department actually advises other parts of the federal government on legal issues. And an opinion came out, and a lot of people are celebrating this. I saw Gun Owners of America post a couple of different things on this on social media. And I think it's significant as a matter of convenience for gun owners, because for years there's been a regulation, for a lot of years, there's been a regulation that the U.S. Postal Service could not accept firearms to be shipped by U.S. mail. And listen, trying to ship a firearm is a major pain in the behind because of the various limitations. For instance, UPS pretty much says you have to be shipping it from an FFL, from a licensed dealer, to another licensed dealer. FedEx, my recollection is, says the same thing, except a owner of a firearm can FedEx it back to the manufacturer for repair or replacement. And USPS, that is the U.S. Postal Service, won't accept firearms at all. In fact, I've even taken some things to UPS before, or in the Postal Service, there were just parts. Like an optic. I was shipping an optic back to Vortex, taking advantage of their lifetime warranty. And I drop it off at UPS, and somebody asked me, and often they don't ask this, but on this occasion they said, "Can we ask you what's in the package?" And I said, "Yeah, it's an optic." "What do you mean an optic?" "It's a sight for a gun." "Oh, it's a gun." I said, No, it's not a gun. And we had to sit there and have this whole debate about whether I could ship this optic back to Vortex. It's not a firearm, and I eventually convinced him of that. But it's something that's been a pain in the behind for a long time. The Office of Legal Counsel within the Department of Justice just came out with an opinion that said it is unconstitutional. It is an unconstitutional restriction on Second Amendment rights for the U.S. Postal Service to refuse to refuse customers the ability to ship firearms in the U.S. mail. Now, obviously, if you're listening to this, you're probably thinking, I don't know that I'd be comfortable shipping my gun by U.S. mail anyway. In terms of the possibility of them losing your damn gun. But obviously there's tracking and insurance, and there's ways to protect yourself. But the rationale for this, and you can find the opinion online if you go look for it, the rationale for this is interesting, and they talked about some of the dangers and legal risks associated with traveling with your gun. If you want to have a gun, say where you're going on vacation, or what I've run into, I want to have my gun where I'm going to a training course. What I've done before is where I've gone to training, for instance, at Gunsight out in Paulden, Arizona, my very favorite place to go seek training. In fact, the CEO of Gunsight is former Boone County Sheriff. I live in Boone County. He was my sheriff. We got to be good friends many years ago with me living in Boone County. But he's now the CEO of Gunsight, and that is the finest civilian training facility in the world as far as I'm concerned. But but they have an FFL gun shop. It's part of their pro shop, they call it, there at Gunsight. So I've gone to my friendly neighborhood FFL and had them ship my gun to the pro shop at Gunsight, care of me. That's legal because it's FFL to FFL. That went UPS. But what if I just wanted to mail my gun to myself at my hotel? So I don't have to trust anybody else other than the hotel to receive it and keep it for me, or get it to me if I beat my gun to my destination. That's been illegal as far as using U.S. Postal Service for years and years and years. And in this opinion, as I started to go into, they talked about the problem of traveling. If I was driving, for instance, of the pitfalls you can run into going through states like Illinois or going through states like New York or New Jersey, where people just traveling through, people flying with their gun legally. They declared it an unloaded firearm in their checked bag, but their flight gets diverted to New York or New Jersey. They can't get another flight out. They get put up at the airport hotel. They take possession of their suitcase with a handgun in that luggage. There are instances where people have been arrested and prosecuted. There, a U.S. Marine was looking at 2 years in New Jersey prison because his flight got diverted. He was trying to go to, I believe it was Pennsylvania. His flight got diverted to Newark because of weather. It was the last, they were past the last flight out to get to Pennsylvania. So they said, well, we're putting you up and we're going to give you your bags back. So you have your toiletries and clothes and whatever because you're spending the night. So they gave everybody their bags. He goes, spends the night, comes back, and he goes to check his bag again, and complying with TSA regulations, he says, I want to check an unarmed firearm, declare an unarmed firearm in my checked bag. Happened to be a New Jersey cop standing there, or local cop standing there, who says, oh, well, let me see your New Jersey handgun license. I don't have one. I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm just trying to fly back home. Well, you're in New Jersey now. You need a New Jersey handgun license. And arrested him. And he was looking seriously at 2 years in prison. And I believe the governor stepped in and rescued him. But that's the kind of pitfalls you're looking at when you're trying to fly with or drive with a firearm from point A to point B. And if you're going to something like a training class, or you're going on vacation to somewhere where you can legally possess that gun. Now, there are some protections. There's the Firearm Owners Protection Act in 1986. It says as long as you're legal where your origin is, where you're departing from, you're legal to possess and carry a gun from your point of origin, you're legal at your destination, as long as that gun is unloaded separate from the passenger compartment, or if a vehicle without a passenger compartment is in a locked container separate from any ammunition. If it's in that condition, if you're legal where you left from, your origin, and you're legal where you're going to, your destination, you can drive through any other state or town or political subdivision, notwithstanding the laws of those other states or local governments, under the federal protection of the Firearm Owners Protection Act. Do I trust every cop in Illinois to understand that act? Hell no. Do I trust the people in California or New York or New Jersey or Hawaii or Connecticut or Maryland to honor that act and not hassle me or arrest me or put me in jail or seize my gun? Oh, hell no. Absolutely not. And so some people have looked at that to say, a solution here would be, if it was legal, to just mail my gun to myself at my destination. And now, the Office of Legal Counsel, Department of Justice, has sent out memos to the post office saying we believe this regulation that prohibits mailing of firearms in U.S. mail to be unconstitutional. Do not enforce it. Now, the devil's going to be in the details. I mean, how does that happen exactly? You go pick up a box at the at the office supply store, pack up your gun, preferably in your case. It's going to protect it. Put it in a box. Address it to yourself at your destination. Take it to the post office. You just mail it like any other package. Put a label on it that has tracking and insurance. Yeah, potentially. We're going to have to see how this develops and how it plays out. And if they put particular protocols in place to allow people to do this and do it as safely as possible and securely as possible. I worry about the U.S. mail. I worry about inefficiencies in the U.S. mail, and I worry about the security of my package as it goes through a whole lot of hands along its path to my destination and its destination as it's being mailed. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out and how successful or not the process is. But for now, at any rate, USPS has come out and said, hey, the Department of Justice, Office of Legal Counsel, has come out and told USPS that it is unconstitutional and therefore illegal to prohibit people from mailing their guns in U.S. mail. That's interesting. At the bottom of the hour, we're taking a break. We're going to go into the last half hour here. We're going to switch topics. Again, I want to take calls throughout the show. You want to join the discussion, 317-239-9393, 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Protests rage on.
93 WIBC.
The U.S. military heavily involved in what's going on.
What happens next?
The U.S. is sending an aircraft carrier.
All options remain on the table.
Happens here.
Deadly crackdown on protests.
These locations are off limits.
SWAT guys came running out and were pushing everybody back as the crowd riled up.
93 WIBC. Mobile News.
For the economic misery of people.
Indiana is open for business.
On air, online, and on Alexa.
Listen, were you forced into getting a solar contract and now you just don't want it anymore? Maybe the solar company misled you. Or is your solar contract buried with hidden fees? Are you not saving the amount of money you thought you would on your energy costs? Don't worry. At the Solar Exit Hotline, we can help you cancel your solar contract, even if the panels are already installed. Our experienced legal team will review your contract and help you cancel it, possibly saving you thousands of dollars. You got to call right now for complete details. So listen, if you're not happy with your solar contract for any reason, we are here to help you cancel it. Call the Solar Exit Hotline now for immediate options to help you exit your solar contract. This call is 100% free.
800-798-9512. 800-798-9512. 800-798-9512. That's 800-798-9512.
Hey, what's up? It's Nigel. I had a chance to stop by PA Jewelers in Brownsburg. It's such a great, unique, family-owned jewelry store. Huge selection and probably the most competitive pricing on these beautiful pieces of jewelry that I've ever seen. So, guys, did you forget your anniversary again? Trying to impress a lady in your life? Celebrating a birthday? You have to get to PA Jewelers in Brownsburg. They don't mark up their jewelry like the other guys. Sale prices every single day. PA Jewelers in Brownsburg. Tell them Nigel sent you.
Enjoying a healthy dinner that tastes great means eating out at a pricey restaurant, right? Wrong. Healthy Choice Simply Steamers are delicious and healthy. The Tray and Tray steam technology delivers crisp veggies and tender protein in tasty selections, like Healthy Choice Simply Steamers grilled chicken and broccoli Alfredo. It's a satisfying meal with 28 grams of protein and nothing artificial. Healthy Choice Simply Steamers. What having it all tastes like.
Fox News, I'm Carmen Roberts. President Trump threatens to impose tariffs on 8 European countries until Denmark agrees to sell Greenland to the U.S. GOP Senator Pete Ricketts tells Fox News
he is starting a negotiation with Denmark and Greenland. And as you know, the president doesn't start close to where he hopes to end up. He starts way on the edge of where he hopes to.
The EU's foreign policy chief says tariffs would create divisions among allies and play into the hands of Russia and China. In Minneapolis, pro- and anti-ICE protesters clashed today as a U.S. judge bans federal officers from using tear gas on peaceful protesters.
DHS Secretary Tricia McLaughlin writing, despite these grave threats and dangerous situations, our law enforcement has followed their training and used the minimum amount of force necessary to protect themselves, the public, and federal property.
Fox's Matt Fan America's listening to Fox News.
Pizza's here.
Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Hey Hoosier fans, this is your head coach, Kurt Signetti. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, I highly recommend the exclusive partner of IU Athletics, True Blood Real Estate. They're an Indiana-owned company with beautiful offices across the state. True Blood is a tech-driven company that provides their clients with a winning game plan, which is exactly why they are our exclusive partner. If you're looking to buy or sell, call True Blood Real Estate. Go IU.
It's just alcohol. Everybody drinks. You may have already heard this statement from your team. I'm Tammy Silverman with Indiana Youth Institute. Alcohol is the substance most commonly abused by teens. Survey data shows that 2 in 10 Indiana high school students reported drinking in the past month, and more than half of Hoosier teens say it would be easy to get alcohol. How do you talk with your teen about alcohol use, especially if they see peers or adults drinking? First, understand that your child may point out contradictions in our society's views on alcohol. It's okay to acknowledge those facts. Talk with your teen about the many risks of alcohol use. During your conversation, you can both validate their views and uphold your family values. You are the first line of defense against alcohol abuse, so don't be afraid to talk to your teen. What you say has a big influence on their decision to drink or not. This Kids Count Minute is a message from Indiana Youth Institute. For more parent tips, visit IYI.org.
Kids count on you.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. The Supreme Court came out with a decision on Thursday that I think is interesting. It has some people concerned, and it's definitely worth discussing. This is a case of literally the case of Case versus Montana, involving a guy named William Case. And this is arising out of an incident that happened in Anaconda, Montana. And what happened is William Case's ex-girlfriend called police and said, I've been talking to William, and William is suicidal. He says he's going to kill himself, and he also said that he's at his home, and if any police arrive, he's going to shoot the officers. So police respond. And I'm sure this is a SWAT team or attack unit that's fully equipped for a potentially armed engagement. They show up to the house. Case does not respond at the door to knocks or the doorbell. They look through the window. They see empty beer cans. They see an empty gun holster for a handgun and a notepad on a kitchen table that looked like it could be a suicide note. So at that moment, officers, without a warrant, which is the entire point of the case, break down the door, break through the door, and enter the home without a warrant. That's the whole point. They're looking for him. At one point, they're in a bedroom. They walk past a closet. They realize he's hiding in the closet with a black object in his hand that the officer thought was a gun. So they shoot him. Now he's hit in the abdomen. He survived the incident, and he's actually charged then with and convicted of assault on a police officer. And he then takes this up on appeal, and it ends up going all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. But the issue is, was it constitutional, or was it a violation of the Fourth Amendment for officers to enter his home without a warrant? And listen, what does the Fourth Amendment do? It protects us against unreasonable searches and seizures, which typically comes down to a search or a seizure. And by the way, an arrest is a seizure of a person. But the Fourth Amendment protects beyond just people. It's just person, home, papers, and effects, or something along those lines. But typically, in order to enter someone's home, police have to have a warrant. Now, there are exceptions to the warrant requirement. There's something called exigent circumstances. And that's what officers relied upon here. But the issue before the Supreme Court was what standard of proof, what standard of basis to believe do officers need to have to enter a home for what is essentially a welfare check? There was no report that William Case had committed any crimes. There was just a report that he was suicidal and may be in the future violent toward police officers if they respond. But they had no basis to believe he'd committed a crime. So what basis was there to force entry into his home without a warrant? And Case argued that the standard was probable cause. Probable cause is the standard for issuing an arrest warrant or issuing a search warrant. And he said, based on a simple call from an ex-girlfriend saying that she thinks it's suicidal, that didn't establish any probable cause for any necessity to break into his house in order to check on him, essentially, again, as part of a welfare check. And by the way, you can't get away from the irony here, which is they're there to do a welfare check for someone who may be suicidal, so they break into his home and shoot him. Well, we're concerned you might be suicidal, so we're just going to come shoot you instead. Now, I'm not criticizing the police officers, but the issue was, what was the level of proof? What is the standard for what officers have to say or know or believe to be able to enter a home for a welfare check without a warrant? And the Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision, came out and said, in an opinion written by Justice Kagan, that the only standard that must be met is an objectively reasonable basis to believe. Objectively reasonable basis to believe that a person is a danger to themselves or is in need of immediate attention, medical attention. And if you have this objectively reasonable basis to believe, you can enter a home without a warrant in order to render aid to that person or address the fact that they may hurt themselves. Objectively reasonable basis to believe. That is a lower standard than probable cause. This is going to justify more police officers entering more homes to do quote-unquote welfare checks. That is an unavoidable consequence here to the extent officers are trained up on this development of the law. And where they say, oh, yeah, I have an objectively reasonable basis to believe. That doesn't even mean they necessarily believe it. It's just an objectively reasonable basis to believe. Boom. And that is a belief that the person is in need of emergency assistance or they're in imminent danger of hurting themselves. They're going to enter the home without a warrant. Here's the context, and we'll talk more about this after the next break. I'm particularly concerned about this in the context here in Indiana of our red flag law. You know, Indiana was the second state in the country to pass a red flag law. What's a red flag law? It allows the police to seize guns either with or without a warrant. Now, the red flag law says very specifically they may not have to have a warrant to seize guns from an individual, but the red flag law in and of itself doesn't authorize police officers to enter anybody's home without a warrant. It says right in the statute. This doesn't suspend any requirement for a warrant where that requirement for a warrant otherwise exists. What this ruling now says is, well, you don't need a warrant if you have an objectively reasonable basis to believe that someone is in need of emergency assistance or they're about to hurt themselves. And that's what a lot of red flag calls and a lot of red flag cases are all about. Somebody calls police and says, hey, so-and-so is going to hurt themselves. So-and-so is suicidal. I've handled many of these cases, literally a dozen, involving someone who's suicidal. And there's a real danger here. I want to talk about that when we come back as we wrapped up this edition of The Gun Guy Show. Right now we're taking a break. Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Tickets are on sale right now for Trump 1 year later. The highs, the lows, how we win the midterms. Happening at the Hyatt Regency, downtown Indianapolis. The bourbon will flow. The food will be fantastic. We're going to go over Trump's past year and how we use that to win the midterms. It's going to be informing, entertaining, and very, very funny. I promise. Join us, Trump 1 year later. Brought to you by Premier Arms, PA Jewelers, Defiance Beef, Chimney Solutions, and WIBC. Get your tickets at WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. If you've lost your gun rights due to a criminal conviction in your past, that's something that we can help an awful lot of people. For a felony conviction, if it's been at least 8 years, and this isn't for all felonies, but certainly for many of them, we can actually restore your gun rights if you're otherwise eligible. If you have 8 years with a clean criminal history, if that's something you want to explore, we'd be glad to discuss that with you. Just contact us through the website. It's relfordlaw.com, relfordlaw.com.
Being blind doesn't look how others may think.
Retinitis pigmentosa aimed to overwhelm my family.
It tried to cut me down. I know where to find support.
Donate today at fightingblindness.org.
A public service message from the Foundation Fighting Blindness.
Dan owed an unbelievable amount of money to the IRS.
I got behind on my taxes. It's a horrible feeling.
He was in denial.
And when I got those letters from the IRS, you wanted to act like they didn't exist.
Finally, Dan turned to Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima got me a settlement with the IRS. These people are really people-friendly. It was every bit of a new lease on life for me.
The fast action and the great results made Dan's head spin.
I felt like I was in a dream, but it's real, and I have paperwork to prove it. They got the job done, and life is good.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation.
If you're worried about what's going to happen with the IRS, stop worrying. Make the call now.
Call 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799. 800-598-4799.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Leave all of the 2025 dirt behind and start the new year with Zero Res. Carpets, tile, rugs, upholstery, and hard surfaces, your whole home can be Zero Resified, including your air ducts. With a 4.9 Google rating and over 5,100 reviews, Zero Res is the trusted choice. So start the new year with 3 rooms of carpet clean for just $119, plus a free hallway, and take 15% off regularly priced services when you mention the WIBC special. 317-388-5141, ZeroResIndy.com.
Lose weight or stop smoking with hypnosis, guaranteed or your money back. Only $59.99. Destroy unwanted cravings, late night eating binges, boredom eating, stress eating. Also destroy your desire to smoke without cravings, irritability, or weight gain, or your money back. Hypnosis, January 29th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss of 5:30 p.m., stop smoking at 8. And January 31st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss 11 a.m., stop smoking at 2. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
What say we start that new year with a new car at Tom Roush Lincoln? Hurry in for the 8, 9, 10 deal. Get $8,000 off new Nautilus or $9,000 off new Corsair. Or how about $10,000 off Lincoln Aviator? The 8, 9, 10 deal right now at Tom Roush Lincoln. Come get a great deal on all 3 from Tom Roush, where our family served yours since 1972.
Corsair stock number L25566, MSRP 55340. Nautilus stock number L26030, MSRP 62705. Aviator stock number L25384, MSRP 79450. See dealer for complete offer details.
Step into the spotlight with Dancing with the Stars. Catch the live show at Old National Center Wednesday, February 25th. Reserve your seats and tickets today at WIBC.com.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for the last segment here of the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Thanks for sticking with me. I think I've recovered from my coughing fit I had there at the end of the first hour. Man, that was rough. You're trying to talk on live radio and everything is saying, no, you need to cough right now. That can be a little tough to manage. But I think I fought my way through it. And hopefully I can, the next 7 minutes or so, we can fight through as well. But I appreciate your patience with me as I got through that. But talking about this case versus Montana case out of the Supreme Court, 9-0 decision. Said, hey, if an officer has an objectively reasonable basis to believe that you're either a danger to yourself, an imminent danger to yourself, or you're in need of emergency services, they can enter your home without a warrant. And I immediately thought about this in the red flag context. Now, the case versus Montana wasn't necessarily a red flag case. This is just a welfare check. And a welfare check is different than red flag because red flag is what's needed to actually seize guns from people that haven't committed a crime. But entering someone's home to do a welfare check is the specific context of that particular case. Bothers me this dude's name is Case. Makes it awkward to talk about the case. But in the context of an actual red flag situation where the basis of a red flag call is someone potentially being suicidal. And listen, I've had these. I've mentioned before the break. I've had a good dozen of them. And several have been based on a complete misunderstanding. I had one kid who just signed up to enter the military, just visited his recruiter. His lifelong dream was to be a Marine. He visited his Marine recruiter, signed his papers. He had a date he was supposed to report. And in the meantime, his girlfriend, I think partially because he was going off to basic here at some point, and who knows where he was going to get stationed, his girlfriend decides to break up with him. And in a phone conversation, he says something vague like, well, I'm just not sure how I'm going to go on with us being broken up. And his point that he was making to her was, I'm going to be lonely. When am I going to start dating someone else? I'm just not sure how I'm going to manage this, is what he meant to communicate. She took that as, I can't go on. I can't live without you. I'm going to kill myself. All he said was, I'm not sure how I'm going to go on without you in my life. Something a lot of people might say in a breakup situation where you're the breakee and not the breakor. She then talks to a girlfriend who says, so-and-so just said he doesn't know how to go on without me. The girlfriend says, oh my God, he's going to kill himself. And the girlfriend, so this is double hearsay here. The kid says it to his girlfriend, or soon to be ex, ex-girlfriend tells her girlfriend, that girlfriend then calls police. So-and-so is going to kill himself. Now, here's the disconnect, and this decision doesn't help the situation at all. The disconnect is that a lot of times when people are concerned that someone may hurt themselves, someone may be suicidal, and I've seen this over and over in my red flag cases, when they make the decision to call 911, I think a lot of them have this image of an ambulance pulling up with gentle, well-meaning people in white coats who are going to sit the person down and help them through whatever crisis they're going through that caused them to become suicidal. If you call 911 and says so-and-so is suicidal, one of the questions the 911 operator is going to ask you is, do they have firearms? If the answer is yes, they're suicidal and they have firearms, the EMTs do not show up. You know who shows up? Cops with guns show up. The kid I'm talking about who was going into the Marines, and by the way, this was one of the stories I told in fighting so hard last year to get the bill passed that allows us to expunge red flag proceedings. Once you win and get declared to be not dangerous, you can expunge those off your record, because even though we won that case, had it thrown out, and he got his guns back, the military was still giving him a hard time about coming into the military because there was this thing on his record where he had his gun seized from him for having been suicidal under our red flag law. But what happened to him? He got pulled over because the girlfriend of the girlfriend gave the cops a description of his vehicle, said where he was more or less. He gets pulled over by multiple cops, multiple units with guns drawn. They take him out and plane him out on the ground and handcuff him. Now combine that potential situation with a scenario where cops can now enter your home upon a report like that. Oh, so-and-so is suicidal. Oh, well, now I have an objectively reasonable belief that they're in need of immediate assistance, or that I need, as police officers, need to prevent them from hurting themselves. And the police could be completely well-meaning in this. I don't mean this as being critical of police. Now you've got a situation where they're entering a home without a warrant. You're in your home. You're going through a tough time anyway. Now suddenly your door crashes in, and there are footsteps up the stairs. That's a dangerous situation for everybody. And I'm not being critical of anyone involved, particularly the police, but it's something we got to look at and say, how do we manage this in a way that doesn't put both officers and the subject of calls like that at more jeopardy than they're in now? That's going to wrap us up for this week. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you come back. Remember, always shoot straight and always be safe. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Lose weight or stop smoking with hypnosis, guaranteed, or your money back. No matter how many times you failed in the past, this hypnosis is guaranteed to work.
After this hypnosis, I want to eat good food.
Since August, I can honestly say I have not had one potato chip.
It was life-changing for me.
And I don't think about desserts like I used to.
Bridget, how much have you lost now?
I've lost a total of 83 pounds.
Holy cow.
It's easy, it's fun, very relaxing, and very successful.
And I would just say go for it.
What are you